We have breaking news right now. Marc Fogel, the American teacher who has been wrongfully detained in Russia for the past 3.5, nearly 4 years, has been released and is on his way back to the United States. I want to bring back NBC's Aaron Gilchrist covering the White House. Former CIA operations officer Mark Polymeropoulos is back with me, and former U.S. ambassador to Russia, Michael McFaul, who is an MSNBC international analyst. Aaron, tell us about the circumstances surrounding Fogel's release.
So, Chris, we're still trying to learn more about how exactly this all came to be. We know from the statement that was released from the National Security Advisor that it seems as though Marc Fogel is in the air now, along with Steve Witkoff, President Trump's special envoy to the Middle East, who has been empowered, obviously, to operate beyond the Middle East. He, of course, we know has spoken about some of the work that he's been doing as it relates to sort of earning the freedom of Americans around the country. And so now we've learned that today, via this statement, that the president's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, has secured the release and is leaving Russian airspace with Marc Fogel. And the statement goes on to say that this was a negotiated exchange that serves as a show of good faith from the Russians and a sign that we're moving in the right direction to end the brutal and terrible war in Ukraine. We have questions about the exchange part of this, of course. We don't know what the U.S. gave to Russia in exchange for Marc Fogel's freedom. You noted that he had been in Russian custody for almost 4 years now, was arrested back in 2021 for bringing medical marijuana into Russia and convicted there as well. We just had, at the end of last year, the Biden administration designate him as wrongfully detained. And now we're learning again that at least in the last several days, there have been discussions that eventually led to Marc Fogel's freedom. And now he's on his way back to the United States. The statement saying he should be on U.S. soil tonight, Chris.
Aaron Gilchrist, thank you so much for that. Ambassador, you worked hard. You wanted to see your friend, Mr. Fogel, released. You know him. You know his family. I cannot imagine the relief that you and, of course, a lot of people who love him are feeling right now. Tell us what you are feeling.
Hallelujah. Fantastic news. Praise be to President Donald Trump. That's not a phrase I get to say very often. I don't know the circumstances. I don't know the deal. We'll learn those later. And I don't care. Mark was in bad health. He was wrongfully detained for years. This is an American patriot. This is a fantastic human being. He was a teacher to one of my sons. He was an integral member of our community in Moscow when I lived there. And this is just fantastic news for anybody who cares about patriotic Americans.
I think you once put it, this is not just some random guy who got arrested. A lot of people will remember the case of Brittany Griner. There were very similar circumstances that they were found with very small amounts of cannabis, of marijuana. He could have faced 14 years in prison. Did that seem like a very real possibility after Brittany Griner was released fairly quickly?
Of course it did. To his family, to his kids, there was little hope when he was not released, when Brittany was. They finally got the designation that you just mentioned at the end of the Biden administration. But it's just very difficult when you're dealing with Putin and Putin's Russia, where there is no rule of law, there are no procedures. Everything depends on deals like this. And again, we need to know the details. We need to know what happened. But there was not a lot of hope among people that knew Mark. This is a great, great day. And I really want to emphasize one thing that I think people forget about people like Marc Fogel. These are the people that teach our sons and daughters of diplomats, of military officers that serve our embassies. And we can't leave these people behind. And I'm just deeply grateful for the Trump administration for Mark's release today.
Yeah, nearly 4 years, 293 days, by the way, for Brittany Griner. For both of them, absolutely no reason for them to have been taken into custody. Mark, are you surprised at how this has come together? It seems to be quickly, less than a month after Donald Trump took office.
Well, I think many of us who follow kind of the open source world saw Witkoff's private jet travel to Moscow. So something certainly was up. But let me just, before I answer your question, Chris, one quick thing. When this news broke several minutes ago, the first person I actually thought of was Ambassador McFaul, because I remember him saying that Fogel actually was his teacher at an international school. And as someone who, I similarly had my kids go to schools, and I saw teachers like this, and they are true heroes. And so this really is a day of joy. I think one of the things we do have to find out the details is, what did the United States, if anything, do in exchange? The Russians don't do these things just for free. There's something more to this, and the idea that perhaps this is a goodwill gesture for future negotiations on Ukraine, I think we do have to take some pause. Look, in the Biden administration, when these exchanges occurred, many of us scrutinized the details of this, who was exchanged on each side. I think it's fair to do that again now. But as Ambassador McFaul says, the first kind of reaction to this is just joy for an American who's going to come home to his family.
Can you just dig a little deeper, if you will, Ambassador, because you don't go into this line of work to get rich. You don't go into this line of work because it's easy. And you don't go into this line of work, I'm presuming, depending on the posting, for the creature comforts. So what is it about someone like a Mark Fogel that you think puts them in the situation where they want to teach your kids, where they want to teach a member of the U.S. military's kids?
It's just a commitment to learning. That's what I learned from Mark. Mark taught my oldest son history. He wrote letters of recommendation for my son. My son went to Stanford University because of Mark Fogel. And he instilled in my son, I can just speak personally, but I know it's true for many because I've been in touch with many of his former students since his arrest. He was just an incredibly enthusiastic teacher it's tough to go to school in Moscow, by the way, for kids. Even for the ambassador's kids, it's a hard place. You spend an hour in a car, 2 hours back in traffic going out to where Mark taught, and yet his classroom was known as a place of joy about learning. But it's more than that. He was part of our community. Our kids played basketball together. We were in Uncle Sam's bar watching the Americans beat the Russians during the Sochi Olympic Games. These are the kinds of people that our communities abroad absolutely depend on. And you are right. You don't go to teach at the Anglo-American school in Moscow to get rich. You do it because you're committed to learning and you're committed to the American people that are living there.
None of us, Mark, can know what this is like for a Mark Fogel, for a Brittany Griner, although she did talk about the mental health struggles she had, the physical suffering she went through when she was there. She said she had a loss of hope, and you just heard Ambassador McFaul talking about the fact that Mark Fogel was not in the best of health. Are you confident in the U.S.'s ability to help Mark Fogel make this transition back into his everyday life? We all know that there will be difficulties, that there will be struggles, that beyond the joy of the reunion, there are issues that will need to be addressed. Is the U.S. good at doing that, at helping with that?
Absolutely. The U.S. is actually quite good at this. There's going to be all sorts of resources at Mark Fogel's disposal, certainly mental health resources, but also, of course, physical exams. I think that the full weight of the U.S. government and the government's health community will be utilized here. And you're right, this is going to have been an incredibly traumatic experience. I've certainly known people who have been taken hostage. It's going to take days, weeks, months, and perhaps years to recover. But I do feel that the U.S. government has ample resources, and I am quite confident they will be utilized.
Mark Polymeropoulos, Ambassador McFaul, on what is a joyous moment that, again, if you are missing that breaking news, U.S. citizen Mark Fogel, who was a teacher in Russia, has been released from prison after nearly 4 years of detainment and is on his way home.